Guys, put the phone down. Put the phone down. I have been reading. I've read. I have had my brain juices juicing. My yummy brain juices have just been, let me tell you, they're ripe and ready for an illithid worm to just latch onto me, like I'm creating just the most beautiful environment for something to exist in. So, anyway, enough about how beautiful my brain is. Today, we're going to be talking about the fourth wing. Now, I did talk about this on my channel twice, just in passing, just brief and in passing, in an attempt to get back to kind of more comfy, sit down, me talking to you content. I'm here to talk about the fourth wing and the fact that the next book, Iron Flame, is coming out this week, and in fact is probably, by the time you're seeing this, in my hot little hands, and I am yum devouring it. It's in my body now. When I read the fourth wing, I had to process my feelings on this. So this video, in essence, is going to be me rambling about this book in a semi-structured capacity. I have tried my best to make this. I've tried. Listen, this is mostly going to be a me talking to you. You and me, we got a vibe going, talking about the fourth wing. And now, if you haven't read the book, that's totally fine. I will talk about spoilers, but they're going to be in a section you can skip. So, but predominantly, this is meant to be a video of me trying to convince you why you should read this book. Because I need more people to yap to about when the Iron Flame inevitably takes over my life. I wanted to talk about this book because if you haven't heard about this book, I don't know what rock you've been living under for the last year. I believe the book came out in March of 2023. And BookTok took this and just went kind of like me. Me and BookTok. I am all of BookTok. BookTok devoured this book. Loved it. I don't know if I've seen any bad review of this book on BookTok. You know where I have only seen bad reviews? YouTube. Are you all so serious that you can't enjoy a little book? I do not claim at all for this book to be a good book. Please let that be the first thing that you all know. This, by no means, is a good book. It's a book I really enjoyed though, and for that reason we're talking about it. I wanted to add to the space because I feel like this book has been very unfairly chatted about on this platform, and I want to get into the mix of that. And I'm speaking for the little people that don't take themselves seriously, and when they see a little smut book, they go, I've got my little notes. I'm a little prepared girl. Come with me on this journey while I talk about this little bookie. The Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros is a book about this little girly pop named Violet Sorrengale. First things first, I'm already stopping my story for a little mini comment. I love the first name Violet, but Sorrengale? I'm sorry if this is anyone's actual last name, but it is giving such YA surname vibe. Honestly, I'm so happy if you just made her last name Smith. There were Smiths in this time. You know what I mean? Sorrengale, okay. Shut up. Anyway, our gal Violet. She has spent her entire life, up until the point of when we meet her in the book, training to become a scribe in the scribe quadrant of a war college. Her country that she lives in, it's in a total war. It's been in war, constant war, for years and years and years. The whole country is surrounded by wards that are protected by dragon riders and their dragons, and they're, trying to keep the country inside safe. So her job as a scribe would be to be keeping the records, right? Her dad was a scribe. She wants to follow in his footsteps. 6 months before she would have started training to become a scribe, Her mum, who is the General Sorengale, famed general, says, actually, little bitch, you're gonna train to be a rider in 6 months, a dragon rider. And now we come into this story knowing that Violet is... she's petite. She's petite and she's not got a lot going on in terms of tough department. She's like, she can hold her own mentally, but in terms of physicality, she's made for the library. So am I. That's why I'm talking about books today, and I'm not doing any exercise video. This isn't a callback to an idea that I had previously that I've now scrapped or anything. Anyway, so drama, because, yeah, 6 months is nowhere near enough to train to be able to qualify to be a dragon rider. You don't just get to like join. It's kind of like Divergent, where once you pick your faction, if you go into the Dauntless faction, you have to like prove yourself, right? You can't be normal. You can't just be like, okay, cool, do a couple of tests, sit a couple of exams, and now you're in. You gotta prove yourself, and death is imminent for a lot of people that try and become dragon riders, because being a dragon rider is not for everyone, and you should die for that, apparently. You can't just be like, I'm not made for that, sorry, I'll turn around and go somewhere else. You're dead on the spot if you've decided and then back out. You're weak and you should die for it. You're 20!
I'm 20!
Everyone knows around Violet as well that, like, if she was to go out onto the parapet, which is the initial stage of just going into the whole Dragon Rider quadrant, that she's just gonna fall off of, like, 1,000-foot drop. And her mum is setting her up for a death sentence. So what a good way to start the book. At least we've got the tone for the kind of family dynamic of the Sorengales, right? We've got it right off the bat. Even though she's a weakling, even though she was definitely not meant to be here, she's gonna try, right? Because otherwise, why would you be reading this book? What's this book gonna be about if you know they set up a character that shouldn't be here? So not only is Violet going into a part of the War College that she was never intending on being part of. Just checking, boob check. The girls are in. So not only is she going to a part of the school that she was not meant to be joining, because her mum is a famous general, the general who killed the leader of a rebellion, there are a lot of people that hate her because there are people in the rebellion that have essentially been conscripted to be in the Riders Quadrant to serve in the military and to, well, die for the country that their parents were rebelling against. So part of this whole war that's going on, it's very convoluted. I feel like you've just got to read it. So the wards are up because there's people that are trying to get in and trying to get in on the people that are inside in the country. The rebellion, we don't know the motivation for the rebellion. We just know we're led to believe that the people that were of the rebellion and the children of are all kind of traitors, right? The leader of the rebellion's son, who is the leader of all of the rebellion children, he's not only in the Riders Quadrant, he is a wing leader, which is like one of the top dogs in the school. He has a lot of say. He's like, I don't know army terms, but he's a top dog, you know? Like, he steps above regular people. One of the tippy toppies. I don't know how to explain. I feel like you don't need a real life analogy. I feel like you all understand. Her mum really must fucking hate her. Like, she's setting herself up for, like, certain death. It's certain death. Okay. I'm trying really hard also to choose my wording for how I'm introducing these things, because as we go through it all, you know, things reveal themselves, and I'm trying to word them in a way that's most accurate to how things are portrayed at the beginning. Not to say anything changes, but I'm trying to not spoil too much for those who haven't read it. It's like, I'm trying for you. I'm trying for this conversation. So the universe is pretty much telling Violet, like, don't go on this path. Do literally everything to not be on this path. And even so much so that her best friend, her childhood best friend, Dane, who is also a rider, he's like, at every moment that Violet is joining, is like, I will sneak you off to the scribe quadrant. I've spoken with the head of the scribes. They're happy to take you in. Go. I've got you in now. I've got you in now. You know? So like literally everything's telling her not to do it. But she's like, I'm here and I feel like I can't get out of this, so I'm just going to do it. And you know what? Violet is so slay. She's so slay. She makes me feel like me, everything's stacked against me. She did it. She may be a fictional character, but I maybe could do it too. Not what she's doing, but my struggles. Violet makes it past the initiation process, the hazing for the Writer's Quadrant, and she settles into her wing, her dorm, and drama is brewing. Not only is there drama within the college itself and the Writer's Quadrant, there's so much drama going on in the constant war that we were talking about. Like, actively, there are towns being, like, sieged. There are wards that are holding things together being decimated. What's happening? There's so much going on. Anyway, I would be completely leading you astray if I made it like this book was just a fantasy novel. If any of you have known me for even a second of time, you would know my special interest is love. My special interest is people having connections and smooching each other. You know what I mean? So, of course, this book is full of that shit. I don't care about the story that's happening around, but I do care about the people falling in love. You know what I mean? That's why I devoured this book. Just giving me a fantasy book? Cringe. Giving me a fantasy book with little kisses? Slay. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm scared of reading a Brandon Sanderson. I'm dyslexic and I have a bad memory, so it's just a recipe for disaster. But he's a prolific fantasy author. Everyone says his books are magical. I'm terrified of them, and something tells me there's not a lot of romance in them. So, I think I'm going to stick to my fantasy over here with the romance. I mean, look, I've even got... It's N7 today, by the way. My beautiful Thane from Mass Effect here. Just to prove my point that me and romance, we're dogs. This book has a whole lot of smut. Like, a whole lot. You're deciding between a really goody-goody guy that, like, you know, he's a sweetie, or you're picking the guy that could, like, throw you against a wall and, like... Do you get me? The people that have known me for a long time will know which way I'm going. I think even you all. I think you guys are smart enough to know which one. Which one's for me? I have a lot of problems. So anyway, that's why I read the book, because of the smut. If it wasn't clear, that's why I was reading it. Literally, the reason that I picked this book up is because a group of friends were like, hey, I'm reading this smutty little book. I've heard a lot of good things about it. We should all read it together. And I was like, did you say a little bit of sexy? Did you say a little bit of... Okay, that's for me. That's why I read this book. That's why I'm going to read The Iron Flame. And that's why I'm probably going to read all of the ACOTAR series, because can you imagine, I've never read them all. I have watched like 8 hours of someone explaining the stories to me. And I will be reading them myself at some point. So if you don't care about that shit, don't care about reading it, it's okay to switch off this one. It's okay for this week for you to not be interested in my video. But every other week, you better be tuning in. Anyway, so I thought it would be good for us to actually establish these characters that we're talking about in the story, because apart from my brief overview that, like, our main character is a skinny mini and definitely isn't the kind of person that you'd think would be part of a, like, army, you know, I've only really talked about her and maybe the mom. You know, I haven't really talked about anyone else. So I'm going to tell you not only each character that I think is important, I'm also going to give you my fan cast if they were ever to make a TV series about this. Don't make a TV series about this. This needs to stay between me and the book. I don't need ever for them to make a video, TV show, anything. Don't make anything. This experience is between me and the page. And now me and all of you. But me and the page, this is private. Don't make me go to a cinema. I'll go. But don't make me go to a cinema for this. I'll go. Don't make me. We've talked about our main character, Violet Sorrengail. I don't think I have to talk too much more about her. My person that I would be casting as Violet Sorrengail would be none other than Nessie. You named my daughter after the Loch Ness Monster, Renesmee Cullen, Mackenzie Foy. I just think that she would be great in this role. There are a couple of other people that I think would be really good in this role. I'm thinking like I can't think of her name right now, but the girl who's playing the new Snow White, the girl who is the main character in the new Hunger Games thingy that's coming out. You know, I think you know the vibe. That's the vibe I get. I'm happy to hear other people's opinions, but yeah, I think that one's good for her. So, other Sorrengails, we've talked about the General Sorrengail. Lilith is her name. She's a bitch. I don't like her. You're not meant to like her. Why did she get the way that she is? I think that she should be played by Lena Headey, the person who was Cersei Lannister in Game of Thrones. I think she would be fucking perfect for this role. I think she's incredible. I love her so much, and I am ready to love to hate her. I think she would be a great fit for that character. The next one that I want to talk about is Mira Sorrengail, who is Violet's older sister. I believe she's like 3 years older than Violet. She's already out of the Riders Quadrant and she's working in the war effort. Like, she's like out on the field. She's also a dragon rider. She is the golden child. She is Mama Sorrengail's favorite, but she's like, you love Mira. Mira seems like a real good egg. Mira's like in Violet's corner. She's not like stuck up, like, yeah, I know I'm Mum's favorite. She's like the best. Because I think that she's perfect. The most perfect person to play her would be Liz Gillies. The way that I love Liz Gillies, stop it. Stop it. Anyway, I think she would be perfect for it. Age difference? Yeah, I think the age difference is going to be a bad thing, having cast Mackenzie Foy, but just ignore it. Just go from vibes and we'll work it out. Next notable family member is Brennan. He's dead. They introduced that like straight away in the story. It's part of our character's terrible backstory. Her dad and her brother both died within the last few years. Her brother died at war. He was trying to save someone. He was also a rider. His superpower, I haven't even talked about that yet. Riders all get special powers when they link with a dragon, and Brennan's was mending. So he was able to heal people and he overextended himself, and that's how he died. We love him. We don't really know him, but he was special to Violet, so, you know, we love him. I was thinking we could cast Charlie Rowe. I know him from Rocket Man, but I know he's been in a bunch of other things. But I feel like he has the right vibe. So maybe someone with his vibe, but I also think he might be too old. And last of the family members is Daddy Sorrengail. I literally didn't even bother to look up what his real name was because it's not relevant. Yet? Question mark? It's not relevant. He, like I said, has passed away too. He passed away after Brennan's death. He was a scribe, like I mentioned earlier, which is why Violet was on the path to be a scribe. Her and her dad had a really, like, strong bond. Super strong bond. So super tragic that he's dead. And she's stuck with her awful, awful mother. Because I feel like he gave a warm and nurturing energy, I am casting Giles himself, Anthony Head. I hope there's some Buffy fans out there that get this, but yeah, I feel like that's a pretty solid casting. Tell me what you think. And then there are a few people that I want to mention who are at the War College that I think are important to know about. And the first one being Dane Atos, who is Violet's childhood friend. She's known him since she was a little baby. Pretty sure their connection is from General Sorrengail and Dane's dad working together. I'm pretty sure that's how they know each other. They've always known each other because, yeah, their families work together. He's, I think, a year or two older than her, and he just seems like he's a nice guy. When you think of a nice guy, or maybe maybe more accurately, a guy who says he's a nice guy. You know, he's Violet's friend. They have this flirty friendship. They haven't spoken since he joined the Writers' Quadrant. But now that she's there, like I said, he's trying to do everything in his power to get her to leave for her safety. In the beginning, it feels like it's for her benefit, like he's looking out for her. But afterwards, it kind of feels like he just doesn't think that she's good enough to be there. So I kind of hated that. And I wanted to say that and leave it there. But there's obviously more to that. Now, I have seen how other people would cast Dane, because I have been online. Everyone is saying that Theo James, most beautiful man in existence, Theo James should be Dane Atos. Are you dumb? Are you not thinking with the brain that God gave you? No. I know we were talking about Divergent earlier, but no. That just... I'm going to spit on the person who first said that and then had a ripple effect where everyone just assumed that that's the casting. That's incorrect, actually. He's too good to be playing Dane. The person who I think should play Dane is someone who is like a piece of unbuttered toast. Just bland, maybe a little bit beautiful, but just in a bland way. Like nothing notable, but like, you know, you would look at the person and not be offended by the way they look. This is going to sound so bad when I cast this person. But I'm thinking someone like Liam Hemsworth. You know, Violet can buy herself flowers. She doesn't need Dane Atos, right? Thank you. And I think this is the only other person that I can think of that's important to the story, and that's Xaden. Xaden Ryerson. All of the names in this are Gallic. Well, they have Gallic origin. And I'm not very good with the pronunciation, so please forgive me. I'm just going to call him Xaden because that is his name. His last name, even as I was reading it, made me stumble nearly every time. He is the son of the rebellion leader, Fen Ryerson. He is, the current leader of all the children that remain since the slaughter of all of the rebellion members. We kind of see him as a little bit of a bad boy, right? Because he's on the wrong side. He, yes, like I said, is the wing leader of a dragon quadrant. Not only is he one of the wing leaders, he is Violet's wing leader. So, oh my god, what's gonna happen there? He has a really cool power. I didn't even mention Dane's power. He can touch you and know your memories and see your memories. He has actually Renesmee's power in Twilight. Wow. It's full circle, my analogies. So Xaden's power is the power to command shadow, which I think is really cool. And very cool for someone who you're kind of posing as a villainous character. I think that he is really cool. And I would cast him as Matthew Daddario from Shadowhunters. This is a problematic casting, 100%. He's definitely too old. He also isn't a POC, and Rebecca Yarros has talked about Xaden definitely being a POC, so I'm obviously willing to hear some feedback on that casting. I just think that he has the right vibe, but obviously isn't perfect. So if someone in that realm, you know, could fit, then let me know. I also wrote down Zayn Malik, but he's kind of too short, sorry. Like, he's the right kind of beautiful, but he's a short king. And in the book, he's meant to be really tall, like towering over Violet. I know Violet's meant to be short, but like, I don't know if Zayn's towering over anyone. Love you though. I also thought about Taylor Lautner just because I had cast Mackenzie Foy, but he's also not a POC, even though he played a POC in Twilight. So yeah, like I said, I don't know if there's anyone else to mention. Oh my god. Okay, there's definitely someone else to mention. Liam. Liam is my favorite character in the whole book. Liam, he's one of the separatist children, the rebellion children. He grew up with Xaden. He was adopted by the same people that adopted Xaden when their parents were killed. So he kind of sees him as his brother, and he just loves Xaden with all of his heart. He thinks that he saved them. And they have a beautiful relationship, and I love him so much because he is just a big himbo. He is the most sweet, beautiful, gorgeous, amazing, stunning creature ever. I love him. He's the best. His role ends up being to look after Violet later in the story. He's kind of her bodyguard. He gives me like Bolin energy from Legend of Korra. So I don't know who to cast him as. I'm thinking like in himbo energy, I'm thinking like Simu Liu, but he's way too old. So like, you know, just golden himbo energy. Maybe Alden, is his name? Alden, I can't think of how to pronounce his last name. I'm putting it on the screen. But he was Han Solo in the Solo movie, and he was also in Beautiful Creatures, which I've done a video about Beautiful Creatures before. I love that movie so much. It's also a bad movie that I enjoyed very much. So anyway, I think he would be perfect for it. He's also too old. Someone please help me with the casting of this person because nothing fits right. Anyway, beautiful. I think we've talked about everyone that's important now, so we can move on. So now that we've set up the important characters, I've got to tell you, every single person, except for Liam, is just insufferable. Everyone in this book is shit. Hate them. Sometimes when I talk about this, I think, do I even like this book? One thing I will say is I'm really glad that even though we're at a school setting, we're not school aged. Like, all of the characters are 20 and up. Thank God. I hate reading about, like, 16-year-olds' problems. I don't care. I'm nearly 30. I don't care about what a 16-year-old's got going on. I want you to have a little bit more life experience for me to care about who you're smooching. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to know about underage smooches. Keep that to yourself. I'm your mother. I don't want to know about that. So, like I said at the beginning, we're at a war college. Violet is joining the Riders Quadrant. There is a war on currently. And so in her first year, that is kind of what is the book, is the first year of her being at the Riders Quadrant, is them being trickled information every day as both part of their schooling and as like an update of what's going on in the war. They're trying to do it for school as kind of like a tactics lesson, right? So if something's happening, what would be the first thing that we would do? Like, how would we war table, Dragon Age Inquisition, this situation? Like, what would be our steps? Who would we be asking about certain things, and what do we need to know? And that part's really interesting, and Violet is really good at that because she was trained to be a scribe, so she's really good at interpreting information, and she knows a lot about the history. Like, she has a almost photographic memory about everything that she's already learned about the history of the country. So she's like proven very early to be a very good asset. Because she also has a lot of knowledge of the history, she also knows that things are being left out of the briefings, and she's like, girly, why is that happening? Why aren't we hearing all of it? Is it for our benefit because we don't understand? Or are they covering something up? What do you think it is? Suspicious. At this college, like I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of people that are trying to kill Violet. All of these separatist children don't vibe with Violet. Like, but the main one that doesn't vibe with Violet is Xaden, for sure. Or at least so we think. She gets roughhoused a lot by people, and part of, like, the training is combat, right? Like Divergent, like the Dauntless punch-on trials, you know? You don't want to be the last on the punch-on list. You're going to get killed. And so, like, all of the separatist children are, like, vying for a spot to fight against her at a chance at, like, school-regulated murder. So Violet's like scared shitless, right? She does have friends. I will note that. I'm not even going to introduce her friends because even though they play a fun role in the story, it's not as important to me or to you. Is it part of the romance? No. Is it part of the bigger story? No. Do you need to know? No. So I'm leaving it out. But just know she does have people protecting her, but it's not like people can kill her in her sleep. And actually, they do try that. She goes into battle. She gets pretty fucked up by one battle, and Dane, being a saint, takes her away and takes her to the nurses to mend her. Because he's so distraught, he is trying again and again and again to go take her to the scribes to see if they'll take her in, because she's clearly not built for this. And I'm so glad that this story is not like like weak woman story. She's like, fuck off. Even though I have imposter syndrome, fuck off. I'm going to do this. And actually, because you're being so annoying about this, I want to do this. And I'm like, I love that. That's everything to me. That's everything to me. Love you. Fuck Dane. We hate him, actually. T? One of the reasons outside of the regular separatist people that are trying to kill her, Xaden, as we mentioned, her wing leader is trying to kill her as well. Again, or so we think. From the moment that they lock eyes on each other, even though she's like, oh my god, he's like the most beautiful person in the whole world, she knows that he's gonna kill her. Like, she's like, I am being thrown off of a mountaintop by this man. And so she's terrified. Just so terrified. She's so terrified and stupid because at every moment in the story, when the characters are eventually getting to know each other because he is her superior, he is cheeky, but he's definitely warming up to her. And she at every moment is like, tomorrow he's killing me. Even though she's a strong and independent woman when it comes to Dane, she's not a strong and independent and intelligent woman when it comes to Xaden. And to be fair, he's so beautiful, I understand. But at the same time, there's like 400 pages of this book. And there's only so much of that I can take. There's something that I barely mentioned yet, and it's on the front cover, and that's the dragons. And there's a few reasons for why I haven't mentioned that. Largely, it's spoilers. Like I said, this is her first year going into the Writer's Quadrant. The story goes, she does her initiation, the hazing, she trains, and then by the end of the year, it's like an exam where the dragons choose whether they're riders, and the rider has to like prove themselves to a dragon in a field and bond with them and ride out of there and ride to safety, right? So I don't really want to talk about the dragons too much. Actually, for this is a part that's going to be a spoiler. So I'm going to section this off. There's going to be a chapter down the bottom. You can scroll to see the chapter that says safe from spoilers. Click on that if you don't want this bit spoiled. I gotta talk about it. I feel like I gotta talk about it, okay? A lot of us have read the book. And I'm talking to you too, okay? Violet has proven herself to be not like other girls, and a lot in the story, you know? Like, she wasn't meant to be there in the first part. She's a nerd, she's a little lady, but she's not like other girls, right? But she's, like, also proving herself to also not be like other girls in that she's, like, super physically capable. I do hate that trope, but I understand why it's here. So with the whole dragon thing, right? The whole a dragon picking you at the end of the exam-ish thing, like what they're all training up for, it is like an unspoken rule that everyone is gonna bond with one dragon. Like, not everyone will get a dragon. They can try again the next year. Every dragon will bond with one person. And I suppose in that sense, that phrase is still true in this story. Every dragon will bond with one person. In this book, Violet bonds with 2 dragons. It's never happened before. In the exam where she's out on the field, she sees this little beautiful golden dragon that has a feather tail. It's like a baby, and she hears these brutish dudes that are like, I'm gonna kill that thing because it is a crime. It mocks what being a dragon is, so I'm gonna kill it. And Violet's like, fuck. I'm gonna protect it. Because she protects it, this massive black dragon that every bitch wants, like every one of those tough guys wants this big black dragon because he's like the most powerful dragon. They were all surprised that he was putting his name down to have writers consider him. Because she looks after that little baby golden dragon, the black dragon is like, you're my person. I'm bonding with you because you showed care to the dragon. And then after she flies back with the black dragon and surprises everyone that she managed to pick this dragon, the little golden dragon says, I want to bond with you as well. Are you joking? I do hate it, but I also like it. I think it's cute. There's drama with that. Even though we're in spoiler, I'm not going to talk about it. Even though she's picked the most dangerous dragon, right? That's not the end of it. It's also the mate and bonded pair of Xaden and his dragon. When they bond with a dragon, it's a bond for life. If your dragon dies, you die. I don't think the dragon dies if you die. Because they're mates, the dragons are mates, it means that Xaden and Violet, they're together for life. They're bonded as well. I'm not going to talk about what Violet's powers are with the dragons because that is part of the smut zone. And the smut is something I want to keep sacred. Like I said, this book, like the things that happen in this book are for me and the book to experience and not for anyone else. In that way, the smut is for you and the book to experience. I can't give you a vibe of the smut. You've got to experience that for yourself. I can't get into bed with you and the book. It's you and the book that are having this experience. So I'm leaving that to you. So I'm also not telling you about the powers because they're kind of linked. They're kind of linked. So welcome back to everyone that didn't enjoy Spoiler Zone. Kind of touched on this earlier and I'm circling back. So like I said, for part of why I didn't want to say some people's names is because their names are Gaelic. And there's an amazing TikTok that's going around currently about how Rebecca Yarros talked about how her inspiration for all of the naming conventions and everything was Gaelic.
The war college they attend.
So I say it's Basgiath.
Basgiath. Oh my gosh, I was totally off. I said Basgiath.
And that's a more Gaelic pronunciation. So that can be right. I say Basgiath because of just how I constructed the words.
The full name of Violet's black dragon.
Oh, Ternanach.
The full name of Violet's gold dragon.
And Darnanwarnam.
The name of Xaden's dragon.
Sigale.
I was just going like scale. Like
Sigale. So
okay.
Sa and Gale.
And then lastly, the name of the kingdom.
Oh, Navarre.
She is getting absolutely fucking roasted. Absolutely roasted on TikTok, and I'm going to include that video in this video.
After seeing that video, I have personal beef with Rebecca Yarros because, Rebecca, I truly cannot believe that you wrote a book with Gaelic words in it and you were on an interview calling them Gaelic. Gaelic is a different language. You did not use Gaelic in your book, you used Gaelic, babes. She goes on to wildly mispronounce all of the Gaelic words that she used. I'm not too bothered about the way she pronounces Bezgaya, but if you were pronouncing it like a Gaelic speaker, you would say Bas Skia. It's actually two words, Bas, which means death, and Skia, which means wing. She calls Violet's dragon Ternanach. I have no idea who that is. When I read the book, I read Tarnanach, which means thunder. Violet's other dragon, she calls her Andarnanwarnam. I don't know where all those extra syllables are coming from, but they are not in that word. You pronounce it Andarna Uram. It's 3 words and it means the second honour. The worst one is when she calls Mira's dragon Tyne. I don't know who that is. That word is Chenya. Chenya. And it means fire in Gaelic. It is genuinely laughable to me that American fantasy authors can get away with this. They can use minority languages in such a disrespectful way. They're just pronouncing them like English speakers. She's just sprinkling Gaelic words in there to add a bit of spice to her fantasy book. I am so sick of Americans using Celtic languages because they can't come up with their own names for things. It is incredibly lazy.
It's so funny. The reason that I'm bringing it up is because I studied language. I did a PhD to do with language and language learning. And if I was going to write a book and have the fantasy language be linked to a real life language, I would at least do 5 seconds of research and work out how everything should be pronounced. Wouldn't you? Like, the easiest way out of this would have been for her to have just said everything was inspired by this language and not like based on the language, because then she could have like written things in her own like phonetic way and then she would be in the clear, right? Because she's making up the language, but she hasn't made up the language. So it's like, it's so funny. It's so funny to me. There's probably something problematic about this, but it's so funny. I had to talk about it because I just think it's like, it's such an oversight and I can't wait for the second book to come out. But yeah, so now that the Iron Flame is out, I guess, by the time this has come out and is in my hot little hands, not as of right now, but it will be when you're seeing this video. What am I expecting to happen in this book? What am I expecting to see from this book? So the book, the 4th wing, ends on a cliffhanger. Something crazy happens. Like, I can't even explain to you. Something crazy happens. I'm just gonna say it, so spoilers again, come back, I'll tell you when to come back. So Brennan is not dead. He is part of the rebellion, and he faked his death to be part of the rebellion. That's how the book ends, is that Violet finds out that he's actually alive. And so something that, obviously I'm very excited to hear about all the rebellion and everything that's going on there, but something that I am kind of thinking about, and I've been thinking about since the end of the book, is her dad dead? Because her dad is the reason she learned anything about the rebellion and what is actually happening outside of the wards. So is he alive too? That would be a fun twist, and I'm excited about that. And that's probably the main thing. Okay, not so spoilery now. I kind of also want to, obviously I want to learn more about Xaden, but I also want to hear more about Dane. So crazy, me saying the unbuttered toast man is someone I'm interested in learning about. I kind of feel like he needs a redemption. I'm not going to say why, but I think he definitely needs a redemption arc in the second book. Just because it feels bad having him not be. She's known him forever. How could he? Do you know what I mean? Anyway. I could talk about this book forever. I've been rambling on for a while and my camera's nearly dead. So it might actually already be dead. I don't know. I've never gotten to this part of the battery life. Yes, I could talk about this forever. I'm really excited about the book coming out. Please tell me if you're reading it, and if you are reading it, jump in my Discord. The link is in the description because we are gonna be talking about it. I at least know 2 people that are interested in this book. I want more people. I want to have this conversation with you next time, actually. Like, for real, where you talk back to me while I talk at you. Do you know what I mean? I'm excited for that. I hope that everyone's had a really good time. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If this isn't your kind of thing, don't worry. Regular scheduled videos are coming up next. But yeah, thank you all for your patience. Thank you all for your attention. I appreciate you all very much, and I'll see you all next time.